All right, a bit more about the airline for you there. Well, James Creedon has joined us in the studio. And James, you've been looking at all the media reaction and the social media reaction to this terrible accident. And of course, this is a European tragedy. Spanish victims, German victims, a lot of victims yet to be identified. I think one Belgian victim, possibly. I've heard talk also about Turkish victims. We're still waiting for a list of names to be identified. But let's talk about the newspapers from France, Spain and Germany, all countries affected. What have they been saying?
That's right. Well, you can see the extent to which it is a European and even beyond Europe tragedy in terms of the countries affected and those who lost their lives on that Germanwings flight. El País headlining on their website with the operation to try to recover the black box, Caja Negra. You can see there is
which they have now managed to recover.
Indeed, and that so is the main headline. Really, you can see Caja Negra, which is black box in Spanish, featuring on several websites in the Spanish media, also in the German media. This is the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung. Flugschreiber is black box in German, and they are focusing on that as well. And the 8-minute descent is making the headline of Bild, the biggest tabloid in Germany. Now, meanwhile, local newspapers, La Provence from the south of France, also looking at this, and a local newspaper also in Germany. This is the newspaper this is
the town where the 16 school children came from.
That's right, Haltern, which is near Dusseldorf in the
Joseph Koenig
district.
School, I believe it's called. 16 school children. They've just been on an exchange, a language learning program in Barcelona or near Barcelona.
That's right. So that local newspaper, Laura, understandably focusing on the dimension that affected that town of some 5,000 inhabitants, Haltern, in the Ruhr region of Germany. So lots of newspapers devoting almost all of their coverage, on the front page at least, of their websites to that story this evening.
A very sad story for Europe. On social media too, of course, everybody's talking about this. As you always get when there is a plane crash, people want to know why it happened. We still don't know exactly what happened, what brought that plane out of the sky. But there has been some wrong information as well going the rounds on social media. That's
right. So there were some conflicting reports, for example, about a distress call. You still have some confusion on social media about that, but also actually willfully false information.
That's not the crash site.
That's right. People actually posting images and claiming that these are the images of the flight. So, I mean, it's just people being trolls, essentially. This photo, according to Storyful.com, which debunked it, had been shared as the A320 crash site. It was actually an incident that took place in Turkey. Also, there was a video. That's not the video in question. It's here. This is the mirror.co.uk reporting on another video that was shared. I'm not sure if I'll be able to play it here, but it's essentially, it shows the crash of a plane in Afghanistan. That video was also being shared on social media and being presented as the crash in the site.
I mean, why are people doing things like this? They want to just be seen as getting there first.
That's right. Well, it just shows the extent to which information online is not very reliable.
Can't always be trusted.
And there are some authentic videos going up. This is actually the very plane that crashed. It was flying under Lufthansa colours before being switched over to the low-cost carrier owned by the same company. And you can tell by the code that appears on the plane that actually is an image of the plane that as it landed in London Heathrow within the last year or so. So some people dug up, videos showing the plane itself, and of course we've heard that it went through all of the standard safety procedures.
It was in maintenance just a couple of days ago.
That's right. So very sad indeed. Now, also on social media, Laura, you've got local politicians and journalists at the scene of the crash, giving some certainly more reliable and first-hand accounts of what's happening. Christophe Castanet is an MP in the region, and he flew over the crash site, which he described as occupying some 2 kilometres squared, and he described it as terrible images of the mountain countryside. There is only debris and bodies remain. Now that sentence obviously struck Libération's editors, and they put that sentence, in fact, on their front page for tomorrow morning.
James, stay with us, but I just want to bring in Jessica Saltz. She's in Dusseldorf, and Jessica, we've been hearing how devastated families turning up at Dusseldorf airport trying to get some information.
Düsseldorf Airport at the end of what's been a really long and sad day here. It was less than 10 hours ago that the Germanwings flight taking off from Barcelona was supposed to land here just before noon, and of course it never arrived. And as you said, grieving friends and relatives who had come to Düsseldorf Airport to try and meet their loved ones coming off the plane, of course completely devastated. Social workers and grief counsellors are said to have taken them into a special room at the airport in order to try and speak to them and give them live updates on what is happening, but of course completely devastating. I also spoke to people who worked at the airport when I arrived here this evening, and they said that the sadness is really palpable, that there's definitely a very somber mood here today. And apparently, according to recent reports, Germanwings might be cancelling some of its flights because crew members are said to be too grief-stricken to actually fly because of their colleagues who passed away today, and the pilots are said to have backed them up on this. Now, Germanwings has not yet confirmed this, neither is it known how many flights could be cancelled. Other interesting information coming out this evening is a report on Spiegel Online saying that the ill-fated plane that took off from Barcelona this morning may have actually had problems yesterday in Düsseldorf, which left it grounded in Düsseldorf for a while engineers checked it out. Apparently there was a problem with the nose landing door, although Lufthansa said that they did fix the problem and the plane took off yesterday afternoon quite successfully. I'm sure this is something that will be investigated.
And Jessica, I wonder, that is very interesting indeed. I wonder if you've heard anything to explain why the plane reportedly took off 30 minutes late from Barcelona. Have you heard anything about that from the company or not?
No, not yet. Germanwings and Lufthansa have both given press conferences, but I think they're distancing themselves from making any rash decisions or saying anything, committing to any reasons why this plane may have taken off late, or in fact what might have happened to cause the crash and the tragedy. Of course, investigators going to the crash site, many politicians going to the crash site, including leading German politicians Angela Merkel and Foreign Minister Frank-Walter Steinmeier, and I'm sure this will be a long and difficult investigation, but certainly the German company is distancing themselves from committing to anything right now, and certainly saying that people shouldn't really speculate too much.
Speculate they will, though, unfortunately, with the lack of information. And Jessica, of course, Germany lost the lion's share of the victims on this flight. 67 German citizens are said to have been killed. Among them, a German opera singer, Maria Radner, and her family, including her baby, and a small town near Düsseldorf lost 16 of its school children. Just absolutely unspeakable, some of these tragedies we're hearing.
Yes, absolutely devastating. Of course, every life lost on this plane crash was just as sad as the next. But the story that there were 16 school children on board with their 2 teachers is one that has really saddened Germany, especially here in Nordrhein-Westphalia, where the school is, in the town of Halten. The school was actually closed today, apparently when school pupils there were told that their classmates had died in this tragedy. They all burst into tears. It is not yet known whether the school will reopen in the coming days, but certainly incredibly sad.
Jessica South in Düsseldorf, thank you very much indeed. And James Creedon is here. He was just taking us through some of the reaction. You took us through the media reaction, and you were just telling us about some of the journalists and politicians that have been live tweeting from the site, or near to the site anyway.
That's right. One to follow is I'll just pull up his Twitter page now, Laura. It's briefly escaped me, but he's a journalist for La Marseillaise newspaper, based in the south of France. David Coqui is his name, and he has been tweeting a lot of images and information from near the site of the crash. He spoke to Thomas, who is pictured on the right here, and he was cutting wood, a woodcutter, and when he heard the crash, and he thought indeed that it was some sort of a war going on, is his actual quote. Further down, you can see the tents that have been set up by the gendarmerie, the national, I suppose the police essentially, who were in there, and indeed they will have a long night ahead.
Hundreds of police officers and firefighters have been deployed to the scene, and
That's
you can't
right.
get there by road, making it all the more complicated. And of course, the terrible job of bringing the bodies of the victims down to be
That's right.
reunited with their families. It's just
tough
absolutely
work.
awful.
And indeed, the National Gendarmerie, this is their Twitter account here, Laura, and they have issued a map showing the zone that has been now essentially cordoned off, and it is quite a large zone. And you can see there, as you said, in that very inaccessible part of the Alps. So there you go. Also a look at Lufthansa as they were live. They were tweeting throughout the day as the news came in. Very, very poignant, really, to see the way in which hopes began to fade. If our fears are confirmed, this is a dark day, they said, and we hope to find survivors later on. Of course, they clarified that was highly unlikely. They also changed their normal bright yellow and dark blue coloured avatar to just simple black and white, I suppose, in a gesture of the sadness of all of that. And needless to say, Laura, lots of people sending their condolences and prayers indeed to...
I think it's one of the top trending, isn't it? Hashtag Germanwings, I think is
That's
the hashtag
right.
people are using. All right, James, thank you very much indeed. A dark day for Lufthansa and a dark day for Europe, really, after this awful crash. We'll have more on that for you right after this. Stay with us.
Breaking news on France 24 and France24.com.